Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, a capsule. This is a little segment of my Office Hours live stream, which I do on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can check over here. This is a live chat. Say hello, chat. We do live stream. We talk about the latest news, the latest lore, other aspects of the game. So come join us live, twitch.tv/theastropub or youtube.com/theastropublive to join the discussion. Today, we're going to be talking, I'm going to be two of these, but the first thing we're going to talk about is the Cargo Refactor AMA, because it has a huge, huge impact on the game as a whole. What started off as being a kind of tiny, almost inconsequential addition for most players has become a huge impact for the game as a whole. But I'll explain when we get there. Let's get into it. So, Cargo Refactor AMA recap. So they did an AMA on the Roberts Space Industries Spectrum, where they talked with the new head of USPU team, who was dealing with this stuff, and a lot of these answers are pretty interesting. So, watch. This is from the cargo show. The person he talked in this show in this video as well. Make sure you check it out on ISC. I'll make sure I have that link there. It's from last week's ISC. All right. So, Gozer CIG, Dan Griffiths, lead designer. The first one: will cargo loading timers be part of 318? At the moment, nothing changes with loading and unloading. This is handled automatically as it has in the past. Once manual loading and unloading becomes a reality, you will have the option to choose between the two. If you choose to have the location, to do loading and unloading, there will be a cost and a time when your ship is available while the process completes, much like the current refinery gameplay. So that sets up to two things. First of all, there is no loading and unloading in 318. That's not going to happen. Number two, this is also we also probably won't have actual AI taking your cargo off and on. It'll just be a timer where you can't access your ship, and then it'll blink into existence after the timer. So it's hard to tell how it's going to actually work. My guess is it'll be slow over time. Each box will populate depending on the timer it runs. There'll be like a loading bar for each process, and eventually we'll probably see AI doing it, but I don't see that initially. So keeping expectations low for her so far. In the ISC cargo missions were mentioned. You can go into any detail what these missions will be like and how they will work. In my mind and hopes they will be something along the lines of this post. I'll post it here. After 318, we want to separate commodity trading from cargo hauling. Commodity trading will be high risk, high reward. If you invest a large amount of your money, you will also have to manage the cost of loading and unloading, as well as protection. On the other hand, cargo hauling is just moving things from NPCs from point A to point B, and you are not tied to it financially. The first step will be adding cargo hauling missions that extend the current box delivery missions. Once you can manually load and unload your own cargo, they will start small and get larger. The only thing that the players are risking is reputation. So effectively, the next step beyond this is going to be take the current small box missions and have more cargo or bigger cargo. Not much of a difference. Will cargo containers stolen by pirates be recognized by buyers as being stolen? If so, what happens if I willingly transfer my cargo to another player to sell for me? When a player purchases commodities, those are owned by player that purchased them. Anyone else trying to sell them will use a no questions asked terminal, and they will not receive full price for anything that they are trying to sell. Even if I give my cargo container to a friend, they would have to sell it in a no questions asked terminal, and they would not get a full price for the commodity. Grimhex, for example, will be a location I would fence my stolen goods. That's not probably final. That's probably just initially. They're going to have a permission system, which is kind of complicated. So, I'd love to be able to buy 1 or 2 SCU cargo boxes, and to be able to put whatever we want in them. Would make org events easier. Could buy all the armor for ground battles, extra weapons and ammo, etc. I want you to be able to do that as well, rather than having to blow up your ship to create them yourself. On top of that, I want you to be able to carry those around, loot bunkers, fill them up, and then snap them to the grid once you're back on your ship. I also want you to be able to do all of this and then go back to a station, go sell all this without having to transfer it to your station's local inventory in order to do so. That said, it probably won't make it into 3.18. At some point, however, it'll be a thing. This is where I use the dreaded soon. So not in 3.18. You're going to notice a lot of this is, like I said from the very beginning, it's either not going to make it in or it's going to be basically what we have with 3.17. So... next one. Will cargo boxes have any kind of signatures to be picked up by vehicle pings? Cargo containers can be scanned and AR markers will present if they survive the explosion. They have also added colored tints to the containers so you can at least identify what category they belong to, such as metals or processed goods. That's pretty cool. Are we getting any dynamic pricing changes to commodities? Commodity changes will not change. Commodity price will not change in 3.18, mainly because if we did it now, it would have to do it all over again as soon as we add manual loading and unloading to the loop. Loading and unloading will dramatically change the whole commodity trading loop. So yeah, we're not getting there's no price changes for the commodities. Whatever you get now is what you're going to get in 3.18. Are larger cargo containers still planned with the refactor, like the ones on the raft? Why just 1 SCU? Why not 10 SCU boxes or fewer entities? Larger than 1 SCU containers are still planned, but at the moment, everything is still bought and sold as 1 SCU cargo containers. And if someone's asking why, and I'm sure they didn't, it's because they don't have the large tractor beam gun or any other tractor beams that work. So there's no point in adding that. Any new commodities for 3.18? No, only new addition I can think of is RMC, which is what you get from hole scraping. Those can be sold at commodity kiosks, so no new commodities either. When it comes to cargo refactor and piracy, what have you thought of to encourage player-to-player boarding actions with this feature? This is the major addition. Well, so we hinted about this at ISC, and it wasn't very clear. With 3.18, we are introducing the concept of soft death. There is a 70% chance a vehicle will die with its interior and cargo intact from combat deaths. Explosions, explosive deaths, or deaths by game rules, near a barrier or touching water, for example, won't trigger a soft death. What this means, 70% of the time, you and your crew are still alive, and the cargo is still attached to the ship when a combat death occurs. Ship reaches 0 health in combat. The 30% of the time this doesn't happen, your ship explodes and the cargo is pushed out, when the 0 to 90% of that cargo remains, with an average of that being 45% of cargo surviving. So, we can learn about a couple of things with this one, because this is not just a cargo thing. This is a massive change to vehicle health. This means that 70% of the time your ship reaches 0 HP, you will not explode. You just will not be able to work your ship. There has been some discussion on the Discord about people thinking that maybe we could get the ship up and running. I doubt it. I think we're likely looking at a situation where you're at 0 HP, you can no longer move, you need to be rescued. You can still get all your stuff out, but the problem that does occur is how are you going to move 1 SCU boxes from like a constellation? Like how are you going to rip open that door? I imagine it'll still work like it does now where you can kind of shoot it open, but so that's the big thing. You now will no longer die, at least like 70% of the time. So it's like a little better than 2/3 of the time you're not going to die. This also has huge impacts, not just for piracy. This also has impacts for bounty hunting. Because now, if you're bounty hunting a person, you're going to have to get on their ship and kill them. Because this does not sound like you could just constantly shoot a ship until it explodes. Once it's disabled or not able, once it's soft dead, you aren't doing anything to it. It's just a hulk that you can't explode anymore. So you're going to have to board that ship and kill them. This is massive. This makes the game a lot harder for bounty hunting, because now you're going to have to be prepared for FPS to be able to do any combat. It also adds gameplay loops for rescue. Say your ship gets disabled, but you're able to call out for help. Now people can come by, rescue you, and you can come back with your cargo and save the cargo if you really wanted to. So this is big. Now, the other thing this tells us is that they are no way, in any way, shape, or form, ready for procedural damage. Procedural damage that everyone's been walking, the new damage mode, is not happening probably within the next year. You're probably looking at 2 years before we get the new damage mode in. They wouldn't have done this if this was soon, if they thought that they could get this to working soon. But they need the resource mode in the first place to be able to do that, and that's not coming out until at least 3.19. So, or whatever the first patch of the year is. So the reality is, this is what we got. So great news for people playing the game right now. Bad news if you're looking for a more completed Star Citizen experience. But we'll continue. All right. Do I need to neatly stack boxes on all square in order to register them correctly? Containers are snapped to the grid when they are placed on the ship. Anything in the ship or attached to the grid will be able to sell at the community kiosk. Buying cargo works just like it does now. You purchase from kiosks, that cargo is loaded into ship automatically and attached to the grid. Once it's out of the armistice zone, you are free to move it around and snap it into the grid with the tractor beam, however you like. That's the other thing, is you're not going to be able to load anything because there's still a green zone, so you can't use your tractor beams. All right, an example. A cutlass I buy, 46 SCU of goods, so it's full. On my way, I find a wreck and recover 10 boxes of 1 SCU, which also deposit on my ship. On arrival, the TTD to sell, I would see 46 or 56 SCU. You'd have a hard time making it fit, but sure, the cargo grid has a max capacity. Anything else is considered loose items, and if you're on the ship, you can sell them. It's not that this is not to be confused with the FPS items such as guns and ammunition, stims, armor, etc. Those are technically in a third inventory on your ship, though I have a plan for that stuff as well. So that's what we have now. And the last part. Are the external cargo pods for the Prospector, Mole, and Raft going to be detachable and replaceable? If not, what happens to be the mined ore and cargo aboard these ships if they're destroyed? This is Jake. Track this down with several teams. Currently, all these ships will be function similar to how they do once 3.18 comes online. Resource pods such as saddlebags or fuel pods won't be detachable in this release, as further work on vehicle tractor beams is required. Regarding external cargo, such as the hull series and raft, these will detach upon vehicle destruction, as outlined in the ISC episode. So, here's the thing. 90% of that is stuff we already knew, in the sense that most of this is not going to be a huge change to cargo trading as we know it. It's going to be a big change for piracy, though, because we've been talking about this for a while. This is not a cargo refactor. This is a piracy refactor. CIG will never have a pirate patch, but this adds a whole loop to piracy, which didn't exist before. It will give the ability for pirates to actually function as pirates, not just as murderers. So they could disable. Now we know they can disable, board, and take things away from players. So this is... And in fact, if anything, it's going to be a punishment for traders, because now traders are getting no changes to the system and they're getting increased danger. So if they really want to be protected, they're going to have to hire escorts to protect them. But is trading viable enough for you to do that? I'm not a trader personally, so I'm a smuggler, not like the commodity trader, so I don't really know if it's that viable. I have heard some other people say so. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is a bad thing for cargo haulers? Do you think this is the piracy patch? What do you think about this disabling? Are you a bounty hunter? Are you looking forward to this? This is a massive change. It's going to affect tons of gameplay going down the line, from AI bounty hunting and other kind of missions, all the way up to player and PvP aspects. Tell me what you think. Good, bad. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you did enjoy this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropublive. Join the chat. I'm going to stop this recording and talk with them for a little bit and ask their own thoughts. But like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.